Hello and welcome to my channel, Making Crafts. Today I am starting a new journal and I am using two kits from Bontic Vintage Designs on Etsy. And the two kits that I'm using today are the Vintage Spring Journal Kit as well as the Vintage Scrapbook Double Pages. And so the front of my pages are the Vintage Spring Journal Kit pages, and then on the back I have printed the Vintage Scrapbook Double Pages. So Bontic Vintage Designs contacted me asking if I would like to do a collab with them using some of their papers to create a project. And so I decided I wanted to create a journal since it's been quite a while since I've created a journal. And I had a hard time deciding on what kit because they have lots of gorgeous papers in their shop. And so I finally settled on these two kits. And so what I'm going to do is today I'm going to get started just using the ATC sheet as well as the pocket page. And I'm going to also use the page that has these tags and pockets on it. And then later on, I may get around to using the mason jars, but I'm not sure yet if I will use those today or not. So it's been a while since I've created a journal, and I've been wanting to use this paper and create a journal, and I really didn't know where to start because I get overwhelmed. I've had all these ideas of pockets and tags and journal cards and things I want to do to the pages, but then I just don't start it because I'm so overwhelmed. I don't know what I want to start first because I have so many ideas. So what I decided to do today was just to sit down and play with the kit, just some of the pockets that's in the kit and some of the ephemera that's in the kit, just to get my brain going with this journal and just start somewhere, because sometimes that's all it takes for me is just to start somewhere. Just getting over that hump of putting it off and not starting it because I don't know where I want to begin. So as you can see with that first pocket that I cut out, what I've done is just cut it out, and then I've cut the part that's supposed to fold up off, and I'll show you in a minute why. I just wanted to change some things up a bit. And so for this pocket, it's the exact same pocket, but I'm going to do it a little different. So for this one, I am going to add some book page to the back, and I'm just using this old music page. And I'm just going to glue it to the back of my pocket, and then I'll cut it out. And that way, when I fold it up, you'll see, that way you don't have just white, stark white showing when we fold it up. And so the other one I cut down because I thought it might be fun to use the paper itself in the back. So for this one, it was fairly simple to cut out. So I'm just going to fold it up. And it's kind of self-explanatory when you get these pockets. You just fold it up, and then you fold your little flaps over. Now, I do take a moment, it does take me a little bit to get this one because the paper is thicker once I add this book page. So to get this flap quite right and fold it at the exact line that it needs to be takes just a moment, but it is because that book page is a little thicker than I realized. And I did print all of my pages, well, most of my pages, there's a few that didn't, but most of my pages are printed on, I think it's 32-pound premium paper. And that is on my Amazon favorites list. So if you, in all of my videos in the description, you'll see a link to my Amazon shop, and that's my affiliate link. But what it really does, it just shows you the products that I use, a lot of the products that I use in my videos. And that way I don't have to link each one. It has a way that you can click on that, and then you can just scroll through all of those projects, all of those items, and see what I'm using. So when I tell you that I got it from Amazon, that way you can just go there and see. So for this one, I'm just folding it up like it was intended. Now, I'm not sure if I want the flaps, though, to be wrapped around, or if I'm just going to glue those to the inside. So I think that I will wrap them around for this pocket. And so it's a cute little pocket, and what I'm going to do is I'll come back later, and I will decorate the front of these pockets up. So for this one, it was exact same pocket, but as you saw earlier, I trimmed that little flat, the piece that folds up off so that I could flip it around and you could see the decoration that actually was printed on it. So I'm just going to try a pocket that way as well. So for this one, I'm just going to add a little glue to my flaps, and then I won't add any glue to the bottom flap because I'm not quite sure how far down this piece is going to go. So I'll just add a little bit of glue to the bottom of this piece, and that way we have a little backing for our pocket and just a little decoration sticking up behind the pocket. And like I said, these are cute, but they're a little plain, so I'll probably come back and add some sort of die cuts or some sort of fussy cuts to the front. I'm not really sure yet, but I'm thinking it needs to have some butterflies and some flowers on it. And so I thought this was a good way today to get started on this journal. So I know it's very simple, but I wanted to share it with you because I am getting started on a new journal, and I thought some of you enjoy following along as I create these journals. And so I'm going to try to just show you each step of the way some of the projects that I create. I don't know if I'll get all of them created on camera, but at least some of the projects that I create and the majority of the journal I can put together on camera so that you can actually see me put it together. Now here I'm showing you my basket. I bought this for $1.25 at the Dollar Tree. And it has come in so handy. That's what I got it for, was to be my scrap basket, because I had a really nice basket for a scrap basket and my cat destroyed it. So I'm really enjoying this plastic basket. So for these, I'm just going to cut out the tags here. There's a little tags, it's almost like a little project here in the kit where you add pockets to your tags, and then you layer them up. So what I'm going to use for the back of my tags and my pockets is this packing paper. This is just brown packing paper that comes in the packages that you get from Amazon and other stores. And this one was the fairly thin one. There is some that's thicker. This one felt thinner, but it's okay because I'm just using it to back my tags and my pockets. And that just adds a little structure to all of them. Plus, I really enjoy writing on this brown paper. I have no idea why, but I love the way my pen writes on it and feels on it. So I thought it would be great to have on the back of a tag to do journaling on. So I'm just adding it. And you can see the paper is really wrinkled, but that's okay because, like we said, we're making a junk journal, so I didn't want to smooth it out. I wanted to just glue those wrinkles in. So with this one, I am just going to a little more, since it is called Vintage Spring, I am going to do hopefully some vintage things with it. And so everything won't be as pristine and, what's the word I'm looking for? Smooth, I guess. I'm going to tear my paper, in other words, and I'm just going to add a little vintage worn look to it, hopefully. That's the idea I have at the moment. We will see as I go along. So I'm just gluing these down, and then I will trim them out. And I am skipping over the cutting out of these items. So I'm edited out so that you don't have to watch me cut everything out, because I know that that's probably not what you came here to do. But once I get them all cut out, now I'm just going to put it together, and it's really simple to put together. You have a little pocket here that goes on the bottom of your largest tag. And now the flaps on it is really small, so it just takes a moment to get those folded where I need those to be. And plus, once again, I thickened it up with this paper on the back, so it's going to take a little bit of scoring to get everything to lay down like it needs to. But I thought that these pages were just gorgeous. That tag with the tree and the pink in the background is just gorgeous. And I love the textures in the background on all of these papers, and so that's why I chose the vintage scrapbook papers as well to go on the back of the pages, is because they had a lot of the texture and like paint chip look, and so did these the background of these spring papers. There was a lot of like paint chips and just crackling and just a worn look, and so I really love the look of these papers. But there are so many different papers in the shop that I definitely will be going back and choosing some more to make another journal with or another project with, because they're all so pretty. But it's been so long since I have created a journal like this that I am really excited to get started on this one. I have ideas for the cover, but I can't really decide on the cover yet exactly how I want it to be. So what style cover I want to use. Do I want it to be a soft cover, like with fabrics, or do I want to, or either maybe a collage, or do I want it to be a hard cover? And so that's where I keep going back and forth, because I have ideas for a hard cover and doing something different with the spine, or just doing a cover like I normally do with the fabric and just folding it over. I don't know yet. I'm trying to decide. So that's why I thought, let's do some small projects with it first. And what I love about this kit is it just makes me get ready for spring. I am so ready for spring. In some ways, I'm ready for spring. In other ways, I kind of like the colder weather. but I'm ready to see flowers blooming and see the birds and see green grass. And so I thought this was perfect timing to do this kit. So it even comes with this little piece here to layer onto your smaller tag pocket. So I thought it was cute. I'll just add it there as well. And I like the different shapes of these tags and tag pockets. So you really could use all of these pieces separate, but I'm going to do, like you can see in the upper right-hand corner there, it shows you an image of how all this is supposed to go together. So that's how I'm going to layer this one. I'm just going to layer it all together. My tag pocket in a tag pocket with a tag. So I thought that was cute. So that is some of the pockets that's in the actual kit. And so now I've gone ahead and trimmed out the ATC cards that come in the kit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create some clusters using these, and I'll create a couple of clusters. And so I'm going to bring back in my brown paper again, the packing paper that I had left over, and I'm just going to use my tearing ruler. But before I start all that, I want to ink the edges of some of the cards, so that, now I didn't print these on cardstock, so they really are not thick like cards, but I'm just going to ink some of the edges. So since they are thinner paper, I like to lay them down on a piece of scrap paper, a book page, and just ink the edges this way so I don't tear the pages up or tear the cards up. So I've inked a few that I think I want to use, and then I'm just going to come back and use this brown paper, and I'm just going to rip it. Like I said, I want a lot of torn edges with this one. And I'm just going to use it as part of my cluster. Now, normally I like to chat with you all as I'm crafting, but for this video I wasn't able to, but I wanted to go ahead and get started on this journal. So I'm just doing a voiceover for it, and I hope you don't mind voiceovers, but my house was very noisy that day. Maybe my whole family was home that day. I'm not really sure, but I know that all my children were home. And so there's a lot of noise in the background. So I decided that there's no way I could chat and craft with you all with all of the noise that was in the background, with the music playing and different things going on. So I figured, let's go ahead and film it and just do the voiceover. And hopefully you guys don't mind just the voiceover, because you still get to see what I'm creating. So for this one, I tore that little piece out, but I realized that I won't, when you see the backing of this, I want you to see more of the music notes, not the paper, just the plain paper. So I'm going back and I'm going to tear around it so that when this one is on the paper, you are seeing music notes in the background instead of just the white paper. So I am wasting a little bit of paper, but I do save those scraps, and I've already used those scraps in a neutral collage. I love making neutral collages because then you can come back and use those for, you know, anything. You can add images on top. So that's what I've done, is I've already used those strips. I one evening was just sitting and I wasn't filming, I was just crafting, and decided to clean up some of the scraps laying around and was working on some just neutral collages. And so those pieces came in handy for that. So I'm just trying to figure out now how I want to layer this. If I want the music sheet to actually be that large, or do I want to trim it down a little bit. That is a large frame around it, but I'm not really sure yet if I want to keep that much. Now I have this little, this came from the Dollar Tree at Christmas time. It's supposed to be like a snow globe, and where you can craft your own snow globe. But I bought some and I filled them with my scrap pieces of lace and fabric, and just little doily scraps that, you know, I've cut off of pieces. And here is a little flower that I made one time. And so that's in one of them. And then I have another one where I've made paper flowers, and the paper flowers are in that one. So it just has it handy for me, so I don't have to get up and go through my drawers looking for some of these things. So I'm just really didn't have any plans for this one. I'm just going with the flow. And so I decided I want to add a little piece of fabric to this cluster as well. I love adding fabric to my clusters. I wasn't sure if I really wanted lace this time, but more just fabric. So Since I'm adding the fabric, I am going to trim this music note sheet down. That way, it's not such a large frame around it. And if you hear the dog in the background, I apologize. I did put the puppy in her crate because she was getting into so many things while I was trying to do this, and I didn't want her to have any accidents or anything while I was trying to do the voiceover. So she is in her crate. So she is whimpering a little bit, but she's okay. She's been out playing all day, but she really thinks she needs to be with me at all times. So, and I love when she's with me, but since I can't keep an eye on her really good while I'm doing this, I had to put her up. So I do apologize if you hear the little whining in the background. That's what I was saying. My house is never totally quiet, but I did get a quiet moment today, so I thought I would go ahead and do the voiceover for this. So sometimes I want to film, but it's just too noisy, so I have to just do the voiceovers so that I can actually just craft and film. So I am back once again, you know, with book pages, they are fragile sometimes, these older book pages. So once again, I'm just laying it onto an older book page and just inking the edges. And so just giving more of a vintage look. I don't ink everything when I'm at Create a Journal, but certain parts I do ink. I don't ink all of my pages. A lot of times I just ink like the ephemera and different things that I'm adding to it. I think it's a bit much to go through and try to ink all of the pages. Now I say that, but I have not put the pages together yet, so I may change my mind and go through and ink all the edges of the pages. I'm not really sure yet. I did trim the pages out, and because my printer prints with a white border, and I did trim out the pages with straight because I thought about ripping them, but I thought about having torn edges, but then I changed my mind because I was having trouble ripping just the small white border off, but I still may go back and change the edges of the pages, and they may not be so crisp. I'm not really sure yet what I want to do. So I guess that's why it's so hard to start on a journal sometimes when you're not really sure. But I know if you just get started, it all comes to you. That journal just lets you know how it wants to be as you go along. So I've just layered up the brown paper and the music sheet, and I'm just using my regular, I think I'm using Bearly Art Glue for this one. I think that's what I put in the refill bottle. And so then I do want my fabric to be quite frayed, so I'm just pulling on the edges here to fray it some. And then I'm just going to use my Fabri-Tac to attach the fabric to the paper. I find that the Fabri-Tac does really good. I'm getting a little tongue-tied there. But I'm not putting a lot because I am going to come back and sew around this, but I'm not sure exactly where all my stitches are going, so I am gluing everything down lightly so make sure that nothing moves. And so here is another one of the cards, and so I'm just going to create another cluster, but for this one I'm going to do a little bit opposite. Instead of doing the brown behind the photo, I'm going to do the book page, and then I'll stack the brown behind that. And be sure to stick around. I know that this isn't a very exciting video with you know, really exciting projects, but this is a little idea for you to do for your journals and create clusters, but also be sure to stick around to the end to see how I use these clusters for my journal page, how I'm going to use it for my journal page. So once again, I'm just layering this one up with the book page, and then I will bring in the brown paper and layer that up as well. And I'm having to tear a bit more off because I've used the little piece that I had, but I'm not worried about it using it up. You get plenty of these in the packaging. I had to throw some away because I've had to learn that in my craft room, I only have so much space, and it's a very, very small craft room. And so what I've had to learn is I can only keep whatever room I have. Like if I have a box for, say, the brown paper, I can only keep as much that will fit in that box. Everything else has to go. I don't have a whole box. I have a little drawer that I can put my cereal boxes in, my brown paper in, and tissue papers and things like that that I save. So when that drawer's full, I can't add any more in. So I normally I just try to tuck it somewhere else. But I was watching this organization channel on YouTube. I love to watch people clean and organize, and I cannot remember her name at the moment, but if I do remember, I'll put it here on the screen when I come back and edit. But she was talking about, you know, in your home, when you're cleaning, to be sure to don't keep so much that, you know, you just keep finding places to organize it and to stuff it. She was talking about, you know, you have to only keep what will fit in the container that you have for it. And that has really helped me in my craft room. I'm getting my craft room pulled back together because it has been such a disaster. And it's okay to be cluttered because a craft room, crafters were never going to be like super, super neat, I don't think. But, or I know I'm not. But the thing of it is, if it gets so bad that you can't get in your craft room to craft, or you get frustrated every time you get in your craft room because you can't get to your stuff, then it's time to have to let go of some things, and it's time to try to figure out, you know, what's important to you and what's not. So the brown paper wasn't as important, so I just saved this one bit, and then I just know that when I run out, by then, when I see that I'm getting low, I'll know to just save some from another packaging. So for this cluster, I'm just going to be adding some, oh my goodness, canvas. This is what this is. This is like canvas fabric. And I have bought some by the yard, and I can't remember if I bought it at Walmart when they sold their fabric by the yard. I'm thinking that's where I got it. But then I also go to like, it's not a hardware store, but I think hardware stores may have them as well. But it's kind of like a drop cloth. And so I'm trying to remember the name of the place my husband likes to go. And that's where I have bought a big drop cloth of the canvas, and then I use it. I cannot think of the name of the store now. Oh, it's Harbor Freight. It has tools, and they have drop cloths there, and they're very inexpensive. So that's where I get my canvas sometimes from as well. So this time, I'm just, like I said, instead of the muslin, I'm going to be using the canvas for the edge of my cluster. And I'm tacking it on with the Fabri-Tac, but I will, once this is dry, I'm going to come back and stitch around this as well. And I love the looks of this music page with the brown paper. And so I just go ahead and use my Fabri-Tac to add the paper as well. You can use Fabri-Tac for paper to paper as well. Sometimes when I do my collages, I use Fabri-Tac instead of my other glue, because I find that my other glue, sometimes I get so sticky, my fingers get so gummed up, whereas Fabri-Tac, for some reason, I don't. I mean, it is gummy, but it rolls off, and so it's not as bad. So I thought I would show you a little bit of the stitching. So for the first part of my stitching, I'm just doing a zigzag stitch onto the little cluster. And then I switch my machine over midway through and switch to a straight stitch. And so I'm just stitching around, and I'm not making the stitches perfect. As you see when I get done, I want them to look kind of ragged, I guess you should say. I don't know what the correct term is. But so I'm going to go through, and I'm going to stitch it one time, just doing the straight stitch and the zigzag stitch. But then I'm going to come back around and do some other stitches going in and out. So here are all of the stitches that I did. So you can see in the center there, the zigzag stitches, and then around the edge I've done, on the first one I did some messy stitches, and so I've just kind of done it that way. And then the second one, I went around the center there and then just down the side. So I've laid out some lace pieces out of that little scrap bowl that I had, or scrap snow globe that I had, and I found a few that I think will look good on my cluster. So I'm just going to use some Fabri-Tac to add these on, and I didn't want to add them before I stitched because I didn't want to stitch over them. So I'm just going to tack those on with a little bit of Fabri-Tac, and I'm thinking once this is good and dry, I don't know if my needle can get through the Fabri-Tac, but after I glued it, I thought maybe I should add a little button to the center and just sew a little button on. But if I can't get the thread to go through the glue, what I may do is just add a little thread to my button and then just glue my button on as well. I will see when I come back. So I'm not going to do that today because all of this is going to have to dry first before I try to add the button, because it's just going to gum my needle up, going up and down through my, and not my sewing machine, but my hand needle going, you know, through that glue. So I'm going to give the glue time to dry, and that'll give me time to think about it. Do I really want to add a button or not? I have tons of buttons and I never use them. And I really need to start adding them to things because I love how they look on projects and in journals. but for some reason I never pull them out. So there are the two clusters, and I think they turned out really cute. So what I'm going to do with those, here's the idea I had. I have these two brown envelopes, and so what I want to do is attach these to the envelopes, and then I'll attach the envelopes to my journal page. But I can't decide, do I want to use the cluster as a way to tuck the flap of my envelope? So I don't know if I want to use the flap to tuck it under my cluster, or if I just want to fold it back, and maybe I'll just cut the flap off when I add it to the journal page. So this is how it would be on a journal page. So it would just be right in the center there, and then you would have that pocket, and you could use it on any of your pages, the inside pages or the outside pages, but that way you have just a little pocket there, and I thought it looked cute, but I can't decide about the flap. So I'm not going to cut the flap off right now. I'm just going to fold it back out of my way, and then I will, it'll give me time to decide what I want to do with it. So then I'm just going to attach it there, and I'm making sure that it will fit my page. So if you decide to make one of these, be sure you know what size pages you're going to have before you make them, because the envelope is, rather large. So I am counting the squares over, the inches over, because I know my pages are about 5.5 inches wide, 5 1/4. So I want to be sure that I stay within 5 inches. And then for the height, it's about, my pages, I can't remember the measures now, but I measured them that day when I was working on this. And so I want to make sure that it's not going to be too tall for my page as well. And I forgot to mention, when I glue these down, what I'm doing is I'm not adding glue around the edges, as you can see. Now for this one, I'm trying to decide, do I want to make it going the opposite direction? But what I got to thinking was, if I make it go the opposite direction, then when you go to tuck your thing into the envelope, that fabric is going to get in the way. So if I wanted to do the opposite direction, I should have put the fabric on the other side of the cluster. So I'm just making sure, again, I'm just measuring to see how it would look. But see, each time you slid it in there, you would just struggle with that fabric, I think. I don't know, but I think you would. So I'm thinking I'll just create it just like the other one. And so when I'm adding, I don't know if I mentioned, I know I mentioned it, and I don't know if I finished my sentence. I'm terrible for that. So when I'm adding these clusters to the envelope, I am just adding glue down the middle of the cluster. Now, if I already said that, please forgive me. I might be repeating myself. I'm really bad for repeating myself, but I have these thoughts, and then I don't know if I completed them. So that's just a mom brain. So I'm just adding a little glue down the center there, because I do want to tuck some things underneath it. When I go to do the page, I'm probably going to decorate it more and tuck some things there at the bottom. It won't just stay this plain. And I don't want to put glue too far over and glue my envelope shut. So here are the two envelopes that we created with the clusters, and I really love how they turned out. And then here is the layered tag pockets, and then here are the other two pockets from the kit. And then I did go ahead and cut out the pockets that came with the kit as well. Well, I hope that you have enjoyed crafting along with me today, and I hope you'll follow along as I create this journal. And I don't know my schedule yet for how what days I'm going to upload for this journal, but I will put that in the description. Well, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.